look into this matter again in detail given the allegations made public. Because this happened since 2015. The court decided that the case should be reinstated. In 2015, the NPA decided to do so. It is 10 years later. 10 years. Is Mr. Mdluli, 10 years later, convicted and in jail for this criminal matter of fraud and corruption?
I do emphasize, I agree, it's 10 years later. And these were, these events took place during the state capture era. And we have been trying to remedy and recover from that in the past 6 years. As I said, the matter's been re-enrolled and is in court.
So your answer is no?
My answer is no, for those reasons.
Our research shows that Mr. Mdluli was sentenced for 5 years in September 2020 for another crime, not this one that we're discussing. He was convicted and sentenced for 5 years for kidnapping and assault that he committed in 1999 when he was the station commissioner at Vosloorus. Is this true?
That is correct.
Does this mean that we had a criminal as the head of our crime intelligence at the time?
That is correct.
He served 2 years of his 5-year sentence. 2 years. He's now, as we speak, he's on parole. Was this because of political intervention?
I have no knowledge of that. The parole, NPA has got no role in the parole process. It's dealt with at correctional services.
When we look at your witness statement, section D, page 21, paragraph 57 and 58. Are you there?
The paragraph number?
57 and 58. Are you telling us as the committee that in order for us to understand the relationship between the NPA and the PKTT, we must go listen to the Madlanga Commission, to the testimony of Advocate Harrison, the DPP of KZN?
No, I'm not saying that. I simply set out the fact that she has led evidence there. But of course, if this committee wants to call her, that is the prerogative of this committee.
But you were informed, Advocate, that we want to know about the biggest allegation is that the relationship between the NPA and the PKTT has broken down. There's been major allegations. So we had to hear testimony from you around the details of that. Do you disagree with that allegation or not? You have an entire section entitled The Functioning of the Criminal Justice System Value Chain and the Role of the PGI. So when I saw the heading, I thought, now what I'm going to see is you are going to now deal with the allegation that there is a breakdown in the criminal justice system value chain. And you are going to go into detail within the allegation. But then when I came to these two paragraphs, you are telling me, in order for me to get the details, you are not aware, you don't have direct involvement, so you can't talk to the detail. I must basically go and listen to the Madlanga Commission to get the details, because in your affidavit, you don't deal with it.
With all due respect, Honourable Member, that's not what I'm saying, that this committee should listen to what's happening, what has been testified in the Madlanga Commission. I cannot testify to that relationship because I've not had a relationship except for what I mentioned in my, when I was being led with the PKTT. And so this committee wants to get first-hand knowledge. It's important that you get it from the person that was in the NPA engaging with the PKTT. And I do want to say that to the extent that the committee wants to hear it, but in the Madlanga Commission, the DPP of KZN testified that they had a good relationship with the PKTT, pending some teething problems at the beginning. But she would be best placed to deal with that.
The approach should have been, based on my understanding, because you are testifying, that you would then have had this discussion with her, because you know that one of the things within our terms of reference is the very thing that we are discussing. That's the very reason why you have a section dedicated to it, but this section doesn't deal with the details. It gives us a high level, but it's fine. Let's attempt to go into it then, to deal with what I would have expected you to deal with. So you give a high-level explanation of PGI, but you're not testifying on the allegations that are made by General Mkonazi of the breakdown between the criminal justice system value chain. So do you believe, as the main witness has testified, that there is a breakdown in the criminal justice system value chain? Do you believe that or not?
Honourable Member, that's a very, very broad question. And there are some things that are working in the system and there are other things that are not. Specifically with regard to the PKTT, I don't know in what context the evidence was led that there is a breakdown of relations. So I can't comment on that unless I understand exactly what was said and what was meant. And then I can potentially comment on it.
Well, he was basically saying there was no communication between, based on the PGI model. There has to be this open-ended, this open, transparent communication, and you would know when arrests would happen, etc. So he was making the allegation that because there's a breakdown, this is why the IDAC, to protect, this is the allegation, to protect drug cartels in Gauteng, they then used that as a smokescreen to arrest, they used the arrest of General Khumalo as a smokescreen to protect the drug cartels in Gauteng. So do you see the depth of the allegation? Therefore, I expected you to go into detail in this section and then explain, do you agree, do you not agree, and why not? But we're talking about it now, so.
That is a very, very dangerous allegation to make, that a law enforcement agency that is mandated to deal with corruption and other related offenses would effect an arrest in order to protect drug cartels. As I answered earlier, I have no doubt that the IDAC and the ID would never, Advocate Johnson would never be motivated. She is a woman of integrity. She may have had errors of judgment in her youth. She's a woman of integrity, and I have no doubt that she would never effect an arrest like this in order to protect drug cartels. That is a dangerous allegation. And the Advocate Johnson said she was not even aware, if I recall her testimony. She had, that General Khumalo was part of the PKTT when they effected the arrest. They knew he was the head of crime intelligence, so she didn't even know about that link. So that is just a bizarre suggestion. And it would be good to understand from the person who made that allegation on what is the basis for that, and I would definitely want to understand that, so that if there's any chance that it might be true, I get that information and we can deal with it. But I have no doubt that that is an incorrect speculation or assumption that has been made.
So you disagree?
And the other point I want to make is that, yes, sorry, to answer you, I do disagree strongly. The other point I want to make is that the DPP in KZN, in fact, testified that there's a really very good working relationship with the PKTT. And that is where they were, in fact, the Political Killings Task Team, that is where their work, in fact, centered in KZN. And her testimony has been that there has been a very good relationship working with the PKTT in KZN.
And that is exactly the point. As I'm listening to you, you're saying, one, the IDEC head, Advocate Johnson, is a woman of integrity and she would never do something like that. You then testify that the head, the DPP and KZN testified in the Madlanga Commission that they have a very good relationship. In other words, the DPP, KZN, knows that General Khumalo, which is now a central figure in the investigation that IDEC is undergoing, the DPP, KZN, knows that he is coordinating the PKTT because they are working together with the PKTT, based on your testimony, very well. Correct?
That's correct.
So, Section 24, subsection 2 of the NPA Act says that it's mandatory to have jurisdictionary consultation with the DPP when dealing with a case such as that IDEC has done. My understanding of that, are you aware of the section?
I am aware of the section, I just haven't opened it. My recollection is that, well, I should get the section open, that it is the DPP in the jurisdiction where the IDAC is going to enroll a matter that consultation needs to take place in. And in this case, it wouldn't have been KZN, it would have been the DPP in Gauteng.
Yes, but what it also speaks to is the consultative process, because of the model of PGI, to say that if IDEC is thorough, what they would have done is look into who their core subject is, which is in this case General Khumalo. And one of the things they would have found out is that General Khumalo is coordinating PKTT, and to find out more about that part of the subject of investigation, they would then have consulted with the DPP. This, why I'm saying this, Advocate, and you can help me, why I'm saying this, it's because it is shocking that this is provided for. If IDEC has done this, then Advocate Johnson would not have testified that the first time she heard that General Khumalo coordinated PKTT was on July 6th. If she followed the model of PGI and consulted with the DPP in KZN, she would have not been surprised on July 6th to find out that General Khumalo is the head of the PKTT. Do you think that it speaks of competence and it is okay in the scheme of things when you provide oversight that the head of IDEC, who's investigating a subject, only finds out when General Mkhwanazi makes an announcement on the 6th of July that the same person they are investigating is the head of the PKTT?
Thank you. I want to be clear that Section 24 it is a requirement of the IDAC when you are enrolling a matter to consult with the DPP in the jurisdiction where the matter is being enrolled. And this is an important factor because the honorable member is linking this to a legislative requirement. And it's important that the requirement is clear. The DPP, the IDAC is expected and required to consult with the DPP in whose jurisdiction the matter is going to be enrolled. And in this case, that would have been the DPP of Gauteng, not the DPP of KZN, where the PKTT was conducting most of its work. Now, the point of prosecutor-guided investigations, the IDAC follows the prosecutor-led investigation model, not PGI. PGI, as I explained earlier, is where the police, like the PKTT in KZN, works with the prosecutors in KZN, who guide their investigations and they work together in KZN. So the IDAC was not actually involved in prosecutor-guided investigations with the PKTT or with any other unit in the police. I'm just trying to clarify so that the honorable member, if I can help, explain what the situation is.
You're definitely helping. And of course, I will take your position on the matter because you are the expert in the matter. But let's deal with why I'm asking the question. Is it appropriate for the head of IDAC to only find out about a subject that they are investigating? She only finds out about the fact that she knows that he's head of crime intelligence, but she doesn't know that he coordinates PKTT. Is that intelligence? Is that on that level of intelligence you don't know? Is that a good reflection of the capabilities of the NPA?
It's perfectly understandable that, as Advocate Johnson said, she had no idea that the head of crime intelligence was also involved in PKTT. In fact, one might ask the question, why is the head of crime intelligence actually a part of the PKTT? I'm not sure I understand that, but perhaps there is a good explanation for it. Because you wouldn't expect the head of crime intelligence, who's got enough work in CI, heading up an important unit in the police, why was this person involved in the PKTT? But I say there may have been a very good reason for it that I don't know, but it'll be good to understand that link. And the fact that Advocate Johnson, when they were dealing with this matter, didn't know that he was part of the PKTT is not that unusual. In fact, had she known, in all likelihood, she might have spoken to the DPP of KZN.
All right, so I accept that. Now I need you to explain to me, if you say that based on your experience and based on your oversight function, there's nothing wrong with her not knowing, even though on that level of intelligence that she operates on. I will accept that testimony. Now I need you to explain the flip side. Is my last question. You say that you are actually concerned that he's the head of crime intelligence, General Kumalo, and he coordinates PKTT. There has been testimony of this connection, that it all links. He's the head of PKTT, he's the divisional commissioner for crime intelligence, and then linked to the appointment of an unqualified person on the technical services side within the crime intelligence division. And the link then creates the impression that, and this was part of the testimony of Advocate Johnson, that the speculation is that this link is so that there is a network in order to be able to have control over access to funds, access to resources, such as the procurement of sophisticated equipment, etc. Are you of the same view that General Kumalo is strategically placed in this position, and the link to the person from BMW that was employed, plus his control over PKTT, is all interlinked in order for them to have control over the resources? Do you agree with that? Do you think that there are some, that's a valid position to take, or would you say no?
Well, the honourable member has raised two things. Firstly, I want to clarify that I didn't say I was concerned about the head of crime intelligence being involved in PKTT. I said I didn't understand it, but there may be a good reason for it. And that seems to have come through now. But as I testified earlier, the IDAC, the ID, has explained that there is a broader case theory and that the capture of institutions happened. Recruitment was critical in state capture to ensuring that the resources of the state could be plundered. And that is the case theory in this particular case. Advocate Johnson has indicated that it was part of a much larger strategy. There are other cases. And so, given that this is also, part of an investigation, and I don't really know the details, this is as far as I can take it.
Thank you very much, Advocate. And in closing, I want to say that your testimony here has revealed some deep levels of vulnerabilities within the NPA. Take accountability for it, deal with it for the time that you have left, because it's very concerning that it makes us vulnerable, that we have intelligence on that level that publicly says, I don't know. It then makes the security of our country vulnerable, and we should do more to ensure the security of our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much.